We are back at it. I'm Bear here with Daniel. And man, if this statement doesn't make you feel warm and fuzzy inside like it used to make me, being someone's everything. I'll tell you, when I was growing up, that was like my biggest dream was this Disney romanced image of this perfect Disney couple being someone's everything, right? I think there's a lot of guys who want that. I think there's a lot of girls who want that. And in hindsight, I look back and I cringe because it has a completely different meaning now. Completely different meaning.
Mm-hmm. It's all based on being codependent,
Yes.
dependent on somebody else. It's like this, and I think when you mention, especially as a child having this idea, it's like this is how children think. They think about being dependent. That's why they're a child and they're looking up to a parent because
Yeah.
their parent is supporting them. Their parent is their everything. They don't know how to survive on their own and need their parent. And so this is the type of thing a child looks for because they need dependency.
And then as a child, you create this dream and it feels good the thought of it, the image is beautiful and it
Hmm.
is good. It is a great dream.
And
The
you know
thought
why
of a
too.
union between two people. And that's a freaking awesome dream.
Yeah,
But we want you to do it in as healthy a way as possible.
right, right. There's nothing wrong between a union between people. However, it's this, it's, I think what comes from it, that good feeling is just a feeling of security that you're okay, that you're safe, that you're taken care of. Just like a parent that has you, right? They take care of you. You can be dependent on them. You don't have to go searching for it somewhere else. And so it comes with that feeling of I'm secure. I'm good. I
And
got
I
someone
think
who's got me.
a lot of times what we don't realize is it's an unrealistic standard, right? Because we're ultimately, uh, what's the right word for this? We're ultimately, without realizing it, asking others to fulfill all our dreams in these moments. Right? We think we aren't, right? We think we're asking little favors. We think we're asking things that people should already be happy to provide us. But we are. We're putting a big burden on another person. And even if that other person does love us, it's you know our life isn't theirs to take care of. They're not our parents, and that's the mistake we make. Is we I lost where I was going with this.
Mhm.
We,
That's
but
right. It's
we
like I know
we
what you're
put
going
this.
with
We
this.
have this subconscious belief that looks good and sounds good and feels good. But what we don't realize is going on is we're asking others to fulfill that dream for us. We need others to fulfill that dream for us. It wouldn't come
Mhm.
true if they don't play the role we have mapped out for them. And of course, the closer once you actually meet someone that you think you're madly in love with, and and you guys get to know each other better, and you experience all these wonderful memories and all this great physical contact and all these awesome feelings, that belief only starts to get embedded deeper and deeper. And then when they don't meet those needs and when they don't fulfill those roles you have that you, without realizing it, put them in the place of, things start to get ugly and you begin to experience the discomfort that comes from seeking your own needs outside of yourself.
And then it becomes to you their fault. And and the other person will feel pressured, right? You're my everything and you
Do
didn't do what
this.
you were supposed to do.
Yeah. You failed me.
Yeah, you failed me.
Blame, victimhood. The very first thought that came across my mind, not today, but when I first wrote this topic down, was, and I wouldn't have said this 10 years ago. So if this is you, that's okay. Um, or if you were me 10 years ago, that's okay. But when I first said being someone's everything, this thought just wasn't pretty. I pictured someone who I never got any space from, who was always up in my business, who always needed to know what I was doing, who always wanted to be near me, who always needed something from me. And I thought, gross, I have no freedom to live my life, right? No freedom to allow you to be part of my life. And that was such a, uh, as some people have said, cringy thought. Um, because that's kind of what really happens is what we don't realize we're asking is for people to step into a role where they do just that, right? We ask them to fulfill our needs, but in fulfilling all our needs, a lot of times they're not going to do it in a way we want, if at all. And they're going to do it in a way that is just not healthy for us. It's so not healthy for us that we find we don't have freedom. We find we don't have space. I think of people who always want to know what the other person's doing, always want to check their phone, always want to know where they're going, always want to be with them when they're going somewhere, right?
Hmm.
And that's right. Everybody originally thinks being someone's everything is going with someone everywhere. But then you really think about someone going with you everywhere to the bathroom, when you go to pick up hardware. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes you just want to run an errand and come back and you don't want to take the dog with you, you know?
Hmm.
That's like a really bad metaphor, but it's
And
kind
for
of how
all
it
of you,
feels like.
and for all you guys that this crushes your dreams, it's not hopeless, and we'll get to that in a second. But
Yeah.
I just want to go off topic here a little bit because this just reminds me of the the seeking of slavery. That's what dependence is, just the desire to be a slave. And it's easier to be a slave than your
Right. To follow
own,
than to
yeah,
lead.
than not a slave. I just think about like in the Bible where all of Israel wants to go back to Egypt and be a slave again because it's easier to be a slave than to be free
And to
and
figure out
independent.
what they want. Right. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's
To
it.
do the
This is just
work.
the desire to be a slave because being a slave means that, well, I don't have any responsibilities. They're my everything. They take care of things for me. Or I don't have to have my own agency, which is risky, right? I don't have to make all these decisions on my own.
Well,
I
and
can
what
be
happened?
influenced by something else. I need a master, and that's it. And that's a hard pill to swallow is that we seek dependence, but that comes from childhood. That comes from
Right.
immaturity. And that comes
Unlearning
from
old patterns.
relief of duty and of independence, which independence at first can seem like a big responsibility, which can be deterring, right? And can be unpleasant at first because you think, oh crap, you know, I have to trust myself. I have to be mature. I have to have responsibility. So it's
And
not
even here's the hope in that.
very,
Even in the story,
I forget what it's called.
what happens is they end up after hard work, after some wandering and finding themselves, they end up coming to a land that's even more prosperous and free than dry, enslaved Egypt, right?
True.
And so
Yes.
that's yes, that's a
Thank
there's a
thank
reason
you
that
for bringing
story
it
plays
around, man.
out that way is because that's exactly how your life plays out is when you take responsibility, when you put the work in, when you get lost and wander around in figuring out who you are and what you want, you come to a land of prosperity, right? And there's still labor in the land of prosperity. You still have to build a house, right? But you're not living in a stone house in Egypt where someone's waking you up every morning with a whip telling you to go work in the dry fields, right? So you have to keep clear sight on what you do want. And so that beautiful image of that you started with of I want someone to be my everything. There's good intention behind it, right? You want partnership with other people in your life. You want love to flow, which is a great thing to want. Maybe you want uh,
A
maybe you want
connection. You want
family. Maybe you want a
intimacy.
connection. Maybe you want children. Maybe you want someone to, experience your wonderful life with, etc. But there's a great vision there. You just have to make sure you don't place the burden of dependency that you learned in childhood on them. right? That is your burden to overcome and to learn how to grow through.
Yeah. Well, let me mention this too, because some people can't see romance without that idea of codependency. But
Yeah, right. And of course,
it's
if you've never been there, you won't. You
it
have to create an image
yeah.
that's imaginary that you've never seen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it is
But there's
possible.
there's so much, and we could talk a little bit about that too. There can be so much more from it, a lot more from it when you become two independents that are sharing together. You don't need each other, but you want to be there. There's freedom in a relationship instead of that idea of dependency and enslavement. You're my everything. It's like, no, I'm my everything, right? I take care of me, and
You're
I want to
everything.
share that with you.
Yeah.
And so that becomes a whole lot more intimate and a whole lot more connecting with that the idea of I need you. Like, shit, don't leave me. Or what am I gonna do without you?
Well, and I would say it's not just that there's a whole lot more. I would say that is everything. If you really want um, that everything experience, it starts with self wholeness, self learning how to become everything in your own life, right? And then you hear, I've heard people say, well, then why do I need a partner? Why do I need a friend? Right? It's like because you and you'll know this when you get there. You will experience this when you get there anyway. So even when you have those stubborn thoughts, well, why on earth would I? Right? That's a limiting statement that just points out you're not there yet, which is all right. Um, but when you are there, you won't ask that question. You'll just express it. You'll say, I want to share this with everybody. I want other people in my life. I want romantic interest because you're going to be in a place of abundance because you provide everything for yourself. So it's not that you need people there. You just want to share it. And you want other people to experience what you're experiencing. So it's always a very funny thing to hear people say, well, if I already am whole and can provide everything for myself, why would I even need anybody else? Like it's a very common thing to hear. It's coming from a place of pain most of the time in feeling like they're not enough.
No, that's a great point that you make. You just now you have the desire to share what you have instead of
Yeah.
seeking what you feel like you need to have.
But it's okay to feel that way and it's okay to start there. That's like you pointed
Yeah,
out,
well, we
Daniel.
do to start there.
You
Yeah,
yeah, you were a kid. You didn't know any better. Dependence was exactly
everything.
what you needed to
Yeah,
do as a kid. You needed to be dependent. That was your
you
job.
need it. Yes, you need
You
it to be dependent.
yeah,
I mean, that's it. As a
you
child,
were in the right place.
that's what life is. You're in this state where you're completely helpless.
Yeah,
And so you need to depend on other people, like your parents, to take care of you because you can't do it yourself yet. But it's
right.
that part where you mature into somebody who's independent, who's able to take care of himself.
Yes. And hopefully that's what your parents are teaching you. If they didn't, that's okay. You can teach yourself. There's a reason you can teach this yourself and learn it, right? It's just as hard to learn it on your own as it is have your parents teach you, arguably.
Hmm.
It
And
if you
it's physically even as much as it's emotionally. Like you just see the natural maturing of, okay, now I get a job, I'm able to support myself, I'm able to feed myself, I'm able to
right.
do things without other people
Oh,
doing
great example.
for me
Yeah,
or needing help. But also there's a deeper part, and that's emotionally, where other people think, oh, I need someone to validate me. I need
right.
someone to, make me happy. Um, I need someone to assure me, whatever, make rules
Exactly.
for me. Yeah.
I
And
was
that's a
just going
whole
to
other
say
part
that's
too.
there's that we get the material part down. We say, I know how to make money. I know how to rent an apartment. I know how to buy my own car. I know how to get my learner's permit and pay my insurance and all this, right? But then we look outside of ourselves for all the spiritual and emotional needs that we have within us. And the truth is, you can learn how to provide those for yourself, right? And we think it's tough because because we can see everybody else practicing all this physical stuff. We can see our friends paying rent. We can see our parents purchasing their own cars. We can see our neighbors buying groceries, right? So, but we can't see people providing love for themselves as easily, especially when we haven't been taught how to. Um, but it is possible, right? Just like you can provide those material things for yourself, you can provide all the other emotional and spiritual needs for yourself as well. You're looking for love outside of yourself, that's because you just haven't learned how to meet that need for yourself. That's all. It's just like buying a car. You just have to figure out how to do it.
Hmm.
And you can figure out how to do it.
Yeah, and I think like just I'm thinking of it like tangible ways you can do this stuff is even just through like validation. We're so quick to seek validation from others. Oh, mom, am I doing this right? Dad, am I doing this right? It's like,
Yeah.
what if you could
What
tell
do you think of
yourself
this?
you were
Do
doing
you
it?
like this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um,
Is this good for me? Is it? Ask yourself that.
yeah, and be able to answer that yourself instead of looking
That's
outward to
that's
others to be able to answer that for you or making these decisions. I mean, you, your life's full of decisions, and it's a lot easier, right? Like I talked about before, to be a slave, to have a master telling you what to do, but becoming your own and being able to validate your own decisions
thanks
is
for bringing
taking
that
care
up.
of that, not that physical independence, but that more emotional independence.
Thanks for bringing that up because that is exactly a great place for anybody to start. Is when you notice yourself looking for those things, asking those questions, you can take the mirror and hold it up for yourself and be the person to answer those questions, right? Instead of looking for people to answer those questions, you can answer those questions. So that's one of the best places to start in terms of how do you get there? How do you become your everything? Dad, am I doing this right? Me, am I doing this right? Yes, I think I am. I trust myself. I am doing this right. I allow myself to make mistakes. I love myself even when I make mistakes. Boom, you don't need that validation outside of yourself anymore. You've learned how to meet that need for yourself. And then you come to a place of everything, and it's scary because I can speak for myself. It is frightening. You sit there and you do have those thoughts. You sit there and you think, well, what if I come to a place where I never need anybody? What if I don't want anybody? Because I never need anybody. Rubbish. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think that's just your mind chattering.
Hmm.
Once the
Yeah.
more you grow in fullness, the more you will want to expand. And part of wanting to expand is to share this stuff with other people. So that's just the mind, like I said, chattering away. But as you come to a place of more fullness, you're gonna overflow, right? It's like not even physically speaking, you see this. The more you fill the cup, the more the chances it'll overflow, and the more it
You
does
know,
overflow. So
I was going to bring up that analogy, and you hit
yeah,
it.
it's our favorite
Yeah.
analogy.
Yes.
If you
Uh,
like that analogy, hit like and subscribe.
both.
I'm gonna make a short with just telling people to hit like and subscribe.
You should make a full video about that too.
Yes, that's a great
If you
idea.
want. It should be titled like and subscribe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Anyways, that and I think just to go off your point again about not feeling like you no won't need anybody or won't want anybody, won't want any connection is like once you come to that healthy state of independence, it's only natural to want to connect with other people. Like as a human being, we're creatures who connect with others.
yeah,
Share, we're part of communities. Like that's what we desire. That's what's
Stephen
natural.
Stephen Covey wrote 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And in that book, he talks about how you start as a dependent person, you work towards independence, and then you become interdependent, which means just like you and me and everybody else, you start as a child who's dependent. You probably progress into an adulthood as a dependent adult and eventually become conscious that you're dependent on others and that it is very miserable and very painful and you're in a lot of discomfort. And then you learn how to become independent. But once you become independent, it doesn't stop there. That's because we can't see very far in front of ourselves as humans. We just don't let ourselves. we often only see the next step, but there's still a mountain beyond the next mountain. And so once you become independent, there's more beyond that. And that is called interdependence. And interdependence is learning, not even learning. I would say it just happens quite naturally, is taking the abundance you have and sharing it and seeing who's receptive to it and
Mm.
being full, even more full, creating. I would say it goes from dependence, which is a destructive victim state, to independence, which is a creative state, to interdependence. No, I would
I
say the
I
interdependence
like how you added the
is
creative.
not just a creative state. Interdependence is a synergizing state. It's still creative, but it's a state of transformational, and there's a word, transcendent energy, right? So one is bad, one is victim state if you stay there too long, right? It's natural to start there. One is a necessary stepping stone, but only a stepping stone. And once you reach that stepping stone, you learn to become a creator, but then you learn to take your creativeness into interdependence, which then becomes a transcendent state that is above. It's a multiplying state. It's You're no longer adding numbers, right? One is in the negatives, one is in the positives, and one is oh man, what's the word? I always forget the word. It has to do with math. Um, Compounding. One is compounding. It's not just adding, it is multiplying. That's how I would see that. So at any rate, there is a mountain beyond the independent mountain that you don't always see. That's okay. Wanting to be someone's everything, wanting to have someone who is your everything, is a comfortable illusion. Really, what I think most people are looking for in that statement is to become their own everything. And they just haven't learned how to source things inside themselves and are only looking to source things outside themselves through familiarity. Very common. Very
Yeah, and
okay.
if you are there, cool,
Yeah.
cool. You
Cool.
just just realize, all right, let me see myself mature.
Yep. You can get there.
Let's go.
We're
Yeah.
meant to get there.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching
Hit,
the
hit
Hype Mind.
subscribe so you can learn some more. We'll help you on that journey. We're here for you as people learning how to be whole, because we started as incomplete or feeling incomplete, not knowing we were already complete. And
That's right.
peace.
Peace.
Peace.